Hello everyone, my name is Alexandra and welcome to Creative 404. In today's video, we're going to work on this summer dress. You can find the summer dress in the description box below. The pattern is absolutely free. Comes with a little indication on the bottom right for scale to make sure that your printer is printing it correctly. We do have US letter and A4 sizes, so feel free to print it out and let's get started on this pattern. So I've cut out the pieces for my pattern. I've decided to use this 3mm or 4mm lace for the straps. I've also gone ahead and made a cute little bow for the middle of the dress so it looks so pretty on the bodice. And then I have the bodice here, and I've indicated the line on top, which has kind of faded a little bit, but I can redraw it. I've made the line for the top hem already. And then I decided to do the bottom part in a piece of lace that I had. I actually only had about 2 feet of this lace, and I really wanted to use it for this summer dress just for real pretty interest. So what I did is the lace is approximately, it's 3 inches, and your pattern calls for about 3 inches. It's actually a little bit bigger, but I didn't want to make it exactly to the pattern because then the seam will cut off the tops of these swirls. And for the second piece, it's actually bigger than the first piece. It goes longer so that you have a beautiful layered effect. So for my lace, I laid out the top lace where I kind of wanted it, which I kind of wanted it like this, where it's offset by half, and then it has 3 little eyelets showing from the bottom flower. So I did that, and then I flipped it so that I can get the measurement of what's the difference between the top and the bottom here, making sure to allow for seam allowance. And I made a little strip just for that. But this is just how I modified my pattern to get what I want from it. So first things first, I'm going to actually sew this kind of extra piece onto the bottom lace. This way the bottom lace is long enough to meet up top to top with the short piece. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. I'm back. I've sewn the extension, which is, I've decided to call this piece that goes on the top the extension, and I sewed and top sewed this piece onto the fabric so it's nice and flat. So when you align them top to top now, it looks really, really clean and it falls to the area that I want it to. It did fall a little bit lower, so I'm only seeing 1 eyelet instead of 3, but I am not too sad about that. I can lift it up a little bit and trim off the excess like so. And it isn't that much of an excess. I have a rotary tool which has disappeared again, and I'm just going to use a disappearing ink pen to mark where the excess is, and that way I can trim the top and it still keeps my little swirls outside of my seam allowance because I did give it a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to do that, make sure that all of it lays the way I want it to, trim it up, and I'll be right back. Okay, now my lace is perfectly the way I want it, so the eyelets match where I want it to be, and the tops are nice and even. So this way, when I gather it later, it will gather nicely when I need it to. So for the next step, you are going to need to do the top hem of your bodice. Now you can put the straps between the 2 pieces of fabric, and your straps are going to need to go on either side of the point I'm actually going to do that, so I'll be right back. I'm going to sew this. So what you're going to do is when you have it in here, you're going to put them on the right sides of your fabric. As I'm doing a pure white fabric, there's no real right and wrong side. Some people will disagree, but I don't believe there is a right and wrong when you have a solid fabric. And then you're going to put that in place. I'm going to pin them where they're supposed to be. My dog has decided to put her toy out. But I'm going to pin these where they're supposed to be and then sew across the purple line. So I'll be right back. So I sewed the top of my bodice. I pinned the straps to the bodice between both fabrics. And I sewed it with some paper between me and my machine on the bottom side of the machine so it doesn't fall into where the bobbin thread comes out. And it's really easy to get it out after that. And so now I have this piece of fabric, but it's not quite done yet. You need to clip the corners, so I clip these points first. Then I am going to clip this middle piece, making sure to just make all the clippings you possibly can without clipping the thread. So you want to just clip your seam allowance, not the thread or past the seam allowance. So I've done that. Now I'm going to turn this right sides out. So if you're using a pattern, your pattern would be in the middle portion, not on the outside portion. And your straps would be facing you. So because this is my front piece. So the straps are interesting. You actually fold them into thirds and then you sew on either side, which I will do a video later showing how the straps are, or if you'd like, you could watch my video for a complicated bra. I think I go into some details about the straps there. So I've turned it right sides out. It's not going to look really nice until you iron it flat. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Here's how it looks after you have ironed it flat. So we're going to gather the skirt now, which is one of the easiest ways to make this dress look really pretty. And I'm going to do a 2-line gather. I'm probably going to do them as close to the edge as possible. I might not be able to do the 2-line gather now that I've looked at it a little closer, because this seam allowance is actually going to get in the way. I probably should have clipped the seam allowance. I probably still can clip some of that seam allowance. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to gather my top or my skirt. Luckily, I was able to do the 2-stitch gather, and I was able to gather it up nicely. The bottom stitch does go over some of the swirls, but it's just barely. And I think it's once I take the bottom portion off, because I will take the bottom one off. I did make a mistake and sewed too tight of a stitch at first, but luckily I was able to hide it. Now the next part is a bit tricky. You take your front fabric and you can either stitch it straight on like that, or you can take both fabrics and stitch it straight on like that. The difference is you would take the back fabric and hide the back seam allowance afterwards. I haven't decided if that's the way I want to go. I think I'm just going to do it the easy way. Maybe. I kind of don't want to do it the easy way. Is that hard? The easy way would be just to put both fabrics, not one. You know what? I haven't done the hard way in a long time, so I'm going to, I have some, what is it, the fray check on it, so it kind of sticks to each other right now because it's still a little bit wet, and as it dries, it's sticking to each other. So I'm going to slowly undo some of this gather because apparently I gathered it too tight. I do like tight gathers though. So what I like to do is I like to put a pin on either side and then slowly move my gathers so that I can get to the middle, or at least what is approximately the middle. Sometimes I like to find the exact middle, and I will pin, like make a marking where the exact middle is by folding the fabrics in half. But as this is just a gathered dress for a tutorial, I'm not feeling too particular, but I do want to give, because I don't have much of this lace, I do want to give it as a gift to a friend or something. And so I want it to look nice and pretty since I don't have much of this lace left. So I sewed the gathered skirt to the bodice, and then I top stitched on it so that the fabric is going forward, like so. And then this, when I top stitched it, I pushed the back fabric over so that it closes the gathers inside that casing. Normally you would actually fold the back too for the seam allowance and then slip stitch it closed, but I decided to do a combination of the hard way and the easy way. Now it's down to the last bit, so I'm going to align both of these pieces together, and I'm actually going to sew from right here where my extension starts all the way down to the bottom, and I'm just going to leave about 2 centimeters or half an inch of allowance from the top. So that's where I'm going to start, and then I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. So now I have the back seam all sewn together. I've aligned the bottom edge of the scallops together, and I sewed just to about half an inch to about 2 centimeters from the top. Now I'm going to turn this inside out, or right side out actually. Yeah. I'm going to trim off some of the bottom just to give it a nicer edge. I just like the way that looks on dresses, and now I'm going to turn it right side out. And we have our dress. Now all you need to do is add a little snap. I'm just going to put a little snap like so on the back of the dress. And it's a little bit tubish. Since this is my first time testing the pattern, I'm actually going to fix a little bit of the pattern off camera. I'm going to extend the length of the fabric so that you can add more gathers. I think more gathers on the fabric will look cuter. Because this actually wasn't much bigger than the bodice, you end up with a bit of a sheath kind of dress. But probably just going to add about an inch to the main piece. That would add 2 inches total. The straps, I'm kind of deciding if I want them to be spaghetti straps or like a halter top. I'm probably going to make it spaghetti straps. And then I am also going to put the little bow on the front of the dress, give it a bit of a wash to get rid of all of my air or water soluble pin, and see how it looks on the doll. So I'll be right back. And here the doll is in this cute lacy dress. I actually had to put it on a bigger bust doll because For the smaller bust, you're probably going to have to take 1/2 inch off of either side, just so that it fits her bust a little bit better. The bigger bust girls, it fits perfectly. It is a nice little sleek dress. I'm really happy with it. I had to take her hands off to put the little straps on. I actually ripped the straps the first time I put this on her, so I had to re-sew the straps back on. But she's really cute. I think it looks gorgeous. I love the little eyelets on the bottom. I think it's cute. I would like more ruffles, but that's just my opinion. I'm going to add more ruffles to the pattern that I have. It's probably just going to be another inch on the pattern, so if you want it to look just like this, just take 1 inch off the sides of the pattern. So by what that means is I'm going to take this half, and add 1 inch. So it'll be 2 inches overall on the length. So if you want to get rid of it, the extra that I did, and make it look exactly like this dress, just take 1 inch off the side. But that's the little dress, little summer dress. I hope you like it. I am actually really surprised it fit the doll. I wasn't really sure if my measurements were correct, because I did have to scale this quite a bit, because I just had what looked like a photo of the pattern. So I had to kind of guess and redo a bunch of measurements on the pattern to get it to fit the measurements I have in the computer. But here she is. She's really gorgeous. I think she's lovely. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you liked it and you liked receiving the pattern, of course, please give this video a like. If you want to support the channel, please give this... Hi! Please watch this video, or if you've gotten to the end, leave a comment in the description box below letting me know that you finished the video, and I really appreciate you watching it. If you want to see more videos like this, hit a subscribe. I'm doing Sewing Wednesdays for as long as possible, where you get a free pattern every Wednesday and a little sewing tutorial. So thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye now.